welcome you to another live edition of the Sports Box, your go-to sports podcast featuring great content, conversation, and your occasional disagreement. Stick around to interact and ask questions. The Sports Box is brought to you by our sponsor, Showcase Sports, located on the White Horse Pike in Hamilton, New Jersey. Showcase Sports for the elite player. Ladies and gentlemen, it's showtime.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back with a brand new podcast here on the Sports Box Network. It's been a while since I've been on here, had a bit of a hiatus, but I am back with a brand new hot podcast, new co-host as well, and shifting gears from college football to mostly NFL, but we're going to have a little bit sprinkled in as well from some other stuff. As always, I am your host, No Dog Deibler, joined by my new co-host, the Dunfinator, David Dunfey, resident Cowboys fan, Tyler Rowe. How are you guys doing tonight?
Yes, sir. Doing well. How about them boys?
How about
Doing great, fellas. Ready to get this show going. I'm excited.
Austin coming in saying, let's fucking go. And Chad Dunphy with the good old A. We got a lot to talk about, boys. We're going to talk about week 5. We're going to talk about, hot players, who's slumping. We're obviously also going to talk about some week 6 predictions. But before we get into that real quick, I want, in case, obviously there's a lot of guys, there's a lot of followers of Sports Box Network that might not know who you guys are. So real quick, I'll start with you on this one, David. Just, give us a quick intro of who you are, who your favorite teams are, and, what are your favorite sports and all that.
Yeah, man. I am a huge Saints fan, diehard Saints fan, LSU fan, from Shreveport, Louisiana. Also a diehard UFC fan, so I'll be talking about UFC quite a bit on here. Been a Saints fan since 2000. Aaron Brooks, Deuce McAllister, Joe Horn, those days. Not the golden years, that's for sure. So just been a diehard fan. Was a fan Pride fighting before UFC fighting came around. So those are kind of my diehard sports there. But yeah, I'm a personal trainer and I own a lawn service, and that's what I do for a living. I've got a fiance. We've been together for going on 13 years, and I have a 5-year-old little girl. So
Mikey Bradley says you're looking a little small there.
Yeah. All right, Mikey, I got you.
All right, Tyler.
All right, I am a lot like David. I am also a personal trainer. Obviously, diehard Cowboys fan. I sprinkle in the UFC, not as much as David. More of a diehard baseball fan, Rangers. I am also a Texas A&M fan. Went there. Other than that, I also have a fiance. Let me not leave that part out. Don't want her to kill me on that part. Other than that, just love sports, love talking sports, and I'm excited to get into it with you guys.
Well, I definitely think more sports box people know who I am, but just in case you don't know, I am Noah Deibler. I'm a big Georgia sports fan. Bulldogs, Falcons, Braves, Atlanta Hawks. I also like hockey, but Atlanta does have a hockey team, so there I'm a Pittsburgh Penguins fan. They lost 6-0 last night, so that was great to see. But as for me personally, I'm currently a university student, but I graduate this December. Want to be a history teacher, so that'll be pretty fun. But without any further ado, guys, we're gonna go ahead and get right in it. We're gonna start with segment 1, which is the Week 5 recap. And Tyler, we're going to let you introduce the first game here.
All right, so the first game we got up on the agenda is the Bucks at the Falcons. Since you're a Falcons fan yourself, go ahead, Noah, dive into this one for us. Man,
this was a crazy game. I honestly thought we were going to lose this game for most of it because we got off on a slow start. Tampa Bay firing on all cylinders, and I got to give Baker Mayfield credit. I think my concern with him coming into the season, he had one good year and one down year, and that was basically his career trend. And coming off last season, I thought he was really good with the Bucs. And the question was, can he do it back to back? And so far, obviously there's a lot left in the season. I think he's been really good. Mike Evans is nuts. Chris Godwin is their number 2. They're 1-2 with Bucky Irving and Rashad White in the backfield is really good. But their defense, let's say at least in this game, left a lot to be desired. They also got killed by the Broncos a couple weeks ago, which is definitely not a team you want to struggle against. But in this one, I think my main takeaway was Kirk Cousins, because he had a really slow start to the season. And from the first 4 games, it was basically he had an incredible quarter and a half against Philly, and then just a bunch of, really hit or miss play. But in this game, he was insane. I mean, you can just look at the stats: 509 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception. But I think that the thing that impressed me the most was how strong some of his throws looked. I mean, the 2 he had in overtime, they were just bullets. Granted, they weren't deep passes or anything, but, tight spiral, right on the money, pretty much passes. Completed 42 of 58. He was accurate as well. Ideally, you don't want your quarterback throw it 58 times, but if you throw for over 500 yards, it's pretty good. I think Bijan had a solid game. London and Mooney killed it. But most importantly for me, Kyle Pitts has been a guy that's, been getting criticized a lot lately, and rightfully so, because he's, former number 4 pick, very talented guy. Had some down weeks. And this one, he had 7 catches for 88. Really good. The defense wasn't amazing, but, they did get a big stop after Kirk threw that pick that kind of, hemmed our defense in deep at like our own 28. And actually managed to kick him out of field goal range, which was crucial in the end. Younghoe Koo as well. Obviously got to give him credit as well. I think it was 52 yards, if I remember right exactly, to tie the game. And overtime goes perfectly. You get the ball first, you score, game is over. This was a big win because our first 5 games are brutal. We had 2 divisional matchups. We had the Chiefs and the Eagles, and the Steelers, who are no slouch as well. And even that 3-2, and you look at the schedule the rest of the way, it's much easier. So big win. I was really impressed with the offense. Zach Robinson, I think, finally kind of showed why he was that big commodity that teams are looking for. Big win, man. I was really impressed with it.
Yeah, man, absolutely. I was very impressed with Cousins. He looked like old school Cousins this game. He hasn't really looked his normal self the first 4 games, and I thought he came in pretty clutch. I guess we can go ahead and start off by saying both these teams suck, and they're in the bottom barrel of the division. The division is obviously the Saints, and no, I'm just kidding. No, they're actually the top 2 teams in the division. It was a very good game. I thought the Bucs kind of choked it out a little bit, to be honest with you. But Cousins did come in clutch. Why did Younghoe have to wait a damn week to miss field goals? I don't understand it. He could have done that a week before and everything would have been perfectly fine. But it's whatever. Both teams look really good. I think it's going to come down to the wire for both teams to take the division. But the Falcons got this one, so.
All right, I'll finish up on this one. I want to start off by saying it was indeed a great game offensively. I won't go as far to say it was a defensively great game. I also want to give a big shout out to, I don't want to butcher his name, Kadero Hodges, I think. Been in the league for a few years, gets his first 2 big catches and wins the game. I mean, what a great story. And then, of course, I can't go without talking about Kirk Cousins. I mean, 509 yards, man, that's crazy. Maybe if that overtime would have went out a little bit longer, he would have broke the record for 550. So I was really hoping to see that, but it's okay that it didn't. Personally, I like Mike Evans, so I really wanted to see him do a little bit more in overtime, but it happens. Happy Atlanta got the win, and I know Noah was stoked. I couldn't wait to hear from him after that late night game.
It was great. Austin says probably the game of the week. There's one other game I think you can put above it. It was another overtime game. Quarterbacks at just a total quarterback duel. We're gonna get that in a little bit. Brian McDaniel says, I know David and Noah very well. I'm upset you guys didn't mention Jesus Christ was a Cowboys fan.
Let's go. Not the first time I've been called Jesus. But yes, I am a Cowboys fan. I'm coming back to let everybody know they should be Cowboys fans as well.
Cousins got me 44 points in fantasy. And yep, we're going to talk about the game in a little bit. But before we get into that game, we're going to talk about it was a close game, but I got to be honest, this was a total choke job coaching-wise at the very end. Texans getting a late win on you want to talk about another field goal kicker that can hit it from the parking lot? Kaimi Fairbairn, man, that guy is nuts. But Texans end up winning this one 23-20. A lot of hype around, Stephon Diggs playing against his old team, and, the Bills trying to bounce back from a horrible week last week. David, what were your main takeaways from this game?
Honestly, the Texans are the real deal. I thought they were going to come in. I mean, they had a strong offseason. I thought they were going to come in division, favorites, and they are, and they're showing it. They kind of started off a little slow, but they've been just controlling games. They've been keeping them tight and close and low scoring, and they've been doing just enough to win. And the way they came in and just really shut down Josh Allen. He completed 9 of 30 passes for 131 yards and just 1 touchdown. That's ridiculous. And, I know this was Diggs' revenge game. He came in, he did okay, 6 catches for 82 yards, didn't have any touchdowns, but I'm sure he enjoyed the victory more than his stat line for sure.
I'd say I want to touch on that. He might have only had 6 catches for 82 yards, but he got the win. What was that little shade or dig that Allen threw at him about, I don't have anybody begging for the ball so I can pass it around more?
Mm-hmm.
Looks like that 9 completions didn't work out for him. Diggs is the real deal. Houston looks great, which I don't like to say because those of you that don't know, I lived in Houston for a while. Got a lot of friends that are Houston fans, so I get to hear that all year, especially in a year that the Cowboys are not particularly doing the way I would like them to be doing. But back to this game. Anytime you shut down Josh Allen, it's a win. The defense looked good for the most part. C.J. Stroud, I think, is the next face of the NFL. Dude's doing great. Let me pause and not get ahead while Jaden Daniels over there killing it in Washington.
Mm-hmm.
But
LSU.
I mean, all around the game was good. I watched every second of the game, and coming down to the end of it, again, just kudos to shutting down Josh Allen. Anytime I can see that, I'm all for it.
Yeah, I was impressed with the Texans defense as well. I mean, holding Allen to 9 of 30 is nuts. And, it kind of feels like a tale of two, halves of the season so far for the Bills, because after the first 3 weeks, they looked unstoppable. They looked like they were the best team in the NFL. And in the last 2 weeks, it's, against the Ravens and Texans. Don't get me wrong, are 2 really good teams. But it's just like they've fallen off a cliff. And, C.J. Stroud, he's amazing. But I got to be honest, guys. I think Sean McDermott completely gifted the Texans this game at the end of regulation. I can understand 3 passes. I can understand passing it once to try and be aggressive, right? But once that's incomplete, you got to try and run the ball and at least get it to overtime. They throw 3 incompletions. They have to punt it back. And by the way, the Bills were hemmed in deep. They were like around their own 10-yard line when they did that. And so you punt it back, the Texans get it around like midfield. And, like I said, Fairbairn can hit from the parking lot. They only need a couple yards pretty much. And they win the game. Again, I don't know if it goes to overtime. They might still lose. But, they just choked it. So Texans, really good. The Bills, it's mixed so far. I think they could win this week.
It's another showcasing of McDermott not being able to clock manage. This isn't the first situation, and most likely will not be the last. So they got to get that figured out over there if they want to actually contend for a Super Bowl.
Absolutely.
All
right, guys, we're going to move on to the next game, the highest scoring game of the week, Ravens versus Bengals. Man, what a shootout, guys. This was, if you like offense, this was the game to see. So, Noah, go ahead and start us off with that. Tell us your thoughts on that.
Well, man, I saw, a good bit of this game because I was watching Red Zone, and, they always like to show the touchdowns. And, man, there were a lot of touchdowns in this game. My main takeaway was, number one, I was starting Joe Burrow, so I was a very happy guy watching the highlights for this game. But I got to give credit to both quarterbacks, actually. I know Lamar's the guy that gets, a lot of hate sometimes. I thought they were both amazing in this game. I mean, 9 touchdowns between the two of them, like over 800 yards of offense between them. I'm actually going to talk about Lamar more specifically later once we get to our best plays of the week segment. But, the Ravens were down early in this game. The Bengals, start off hot with a tremendous second quarter. They scored 17 points. And after that, it was just like, the Wild West, pretty much, just touchdown after touchdown. It goes to overtime. I think the Bengals get the ball first, and it was like the first time the Ravens had stopped them in forever. And the Ravens go down and kick a field goal. It was amazing, man. Derrick Henry, the reason I picked the Ravens to win this game was because the Bengals' rush defense is so bad. They actually did a good job on him until overtime, where he ripped off like a 50-yard run or whatever to give Justin Tucker that little chip shot. They had 175 yards rushing overall on the night. Jamar Chase and T. Higgins both had 2 touchdowns. Chase almost had 200 receiving yards, so he did great On the other side, I really love Zay Flowers. I think he's really underrated receiver. He had a great game in this one with 111. But, my main takeaway is I don't think the Bengals are a bad team at all. In fact, I think they're still, one of the best teams AFC, but they're 1-4 right now. And the percentage of teams that have started 1-4 and made the playoffs, it's I don't remember the exact number, but it's less than 10% or something. This was a game I think they needed to win, especially at home. And they let it slip away because they couldn't stop Lamar at all. And, they let Henry get going at the wrong time.
So, like you said, they're 1-4. Their offense has scored over 30 points in pretty much every game, granted, other than the first one, which we'll chalk that up to starting the season off. But the defense has to do better. They have to get it done. With 8 minutes left in the game, I think it was, they were up 10 points. How do you blow that? Defense has to do better. They have to manage the clock a little bit better. But like y'all said, offensive shootout, I mean, can't be mad at that. As a fan, you love watching it. Both quarterbacks threw great. Like you said, over 300 yards. But that Cincy defense, both defenses didn't do great. But that Cincy defense is losing games for them. Joe Burrow is killing it. Jamar Chase hitting him on dimes. They're connected just like they were in college. The defense has to get it together if they want to make any kind of late season changes and make a run for the playoffs.
Absolutely, guys. I mean, this was my favorite game of the week for sure. 79 points between both teams, 740 passing yards. I mean, it was beautiful. 9 passing touchdowns. Henry still getting close to 100 yards and a touchdown. Henry, he's playing lights out. He hasn't dropped a step. And I mean, there were people saying that he was washed up and finished. And I noticed a Cowboys team didn't even give him a call. So I'm sure they're not enjoying that very much right now.
Zeke,
old fat ass Zeke is running, boy. Old man, he's getting it. But yeah, man, just a fun, flashy game. No defense, looked like a college game to me, but it was fun. And Lamar Jackson is a freak of nature, the way he can avoid pressure and just extend plays and make plays happen out of nowhere. So just a really fun game to see. And yeah, I enjoyed it a lot.
All right, let's get to the next game. That's going to take us to the Cardinals at the Niners. Let's go with David. What do you think about this one?
Man, just kind of a boring game, honestly. Purdy did awful, 19 of 35, 1 touchdown and 2 interceptions. He looked like shit. His worst game of the year for sure. But Brandon Ayuk, 8 catches for 147 yards. He didn't get rewarded with a touchdown, but I mean, he got most of Purdy's receiving yards for sure. I did also notice that Harrison was limited to only 2 catches for 36 yards. So they definitely doubled down on him and got him out of the game. But yeah, the Cardinals pulled it out. I don't know. I think that that division is going to come down pretty close. So, but yeah, it was pretty boring for the most part. Good defensive games on both sides, but yeah, Cards pulled it out.
Tom Scabetta coming in saying, "What's up, old boy? Congrats on the new show." Thank you, Tom. Really excited to get this one going here. But yeah, this game was kind of a mess, honestly. I mean, I thought when the 49ers got that blocked field goal touchdown that, they would basically have enough because their defense is so good. But this was a sloppy game offensively for both teams. Like you said, Purdy, I mean, 2 interceptions. His main thing, he's not an elite talent, but he takes care of the ball. You cannot have turnovers like that, especially the 49ers rushing attack in this game, averaging 5.9 yards per carry. They were doing work. Ayuk was amazing. George Kittle was getting it going as well with 8 catches and a touchdown. And on the other side, Murray didn't light it up or anything, but he did have, 83 yards. He had that big 50-yard rushing touchdown to start the game as well. And even though, MHJ, like you said, had a down game, Michael Wilson stepped up. Trey McBride had 6 catches as well. And the defense stepped up, getting that interception on Brock Purdy in the last drive by, I believe it was Kazir White, but I could be wrong on that, to end the game. And it's a big win, and it's a big win in a division that, to be honest, guys, I really don't know what to expect from it. I mean, no one has really stood out. Seattle, I think, has looked okay, and the Rams, have been very hit or miss, honestly. They could honestly be winless. But, it's tough to predict. from what I've seen, I think the Cardinals look the most promising, but I still want to kind of lean towards the 49ers just because they have so much talent, and I think their best is yet to come. But, really impressed the Cardinals so far, and they have an interesting game this week as well.
All right, guys.
Absolutely.
Pump the brakes a little bit. Just pump the brakes. Coming from a Cowboys fan, let's not sleep on the Niners. They got a lot of injuries. They're going to win the division. No, like y'all said, none of the other teams really look all that great. The Cardinals look good in flashes. Seattle's the normal Seattle. But as a Cowboys fan, let's not sleep on the Niners. They'll put us out again, guys. Let's not, if we can make it this year. But like y'all said, boring game. Very defensive game. I'm actually a defensive-minded guy, but very, very slow. Not the offensive shootout I was expecting. But again, with McCaffrey being out, I still expected with the receivers in this game that there would be a higher scoring game, kind of like the Atlanta game, but I was just let down. Holding MHJ was big because he's having a big rookie season. But again, guys, the Niners are not anybody to ever sleep on. They'll pick it up. McCaffrey, I don't know what's going on with him. Last I heard, he's over in Germany trying to get his calf fixed. But as soon as he comes back, they're going to fall right back into motion. Other than that, boring game. Defensive game, but boring. And I really thought the Cardinals played well at the end of the game, though. I'll give them that. But as far as that division goes, right now, I don't want to watch any of the games in that division. But, yeah, I'll give it to the Cardinals. Good win. Way to squeak it out. But the Niners will come back in the second half of the season and win that division, in my opinion.
Garth says, what a trio. Evening, gentlemen. What's up, Garth?
What's up, Garth?
Man.
What's up, buddy? All
right, guys. Next game we have, this is another game I think was more of a defensive slugfest, kind of probably a boring game as well. It looked very obviously, I was watching Red Zone, so I didn't see every play, but from what I saw, there was a lot of sloppy passing in this game. Packers-Rams. Packers kind of getting on track again. Jordan Love, obviously missed a bit of time. They were able to get a win with Malik Willis against a terrible Titans team. Rams fall to 1-4, which is crazy because pretty much all their games, at least the ones that I remember, were really close. But Stafford with a big interception in this game as well. Kyron Williams is getting it going. But on the other side, Josh Jacobs had a good game in this one as well with 73 yards and a touchdown. But the main story of the game, guys, Tucker Kraft, 88 yards and 2 touchdowns. He had a great game in this one. Dave, I'll start with you on this one. What were your main takeaways? Big win for the Packers here.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I agree. The only good thing that I really seen out of it that wasn't as sloppy was the running backs. Josh Jacobs and Kyron Williams both had solid games. They played very well. Williams averaged around 4.6 yards per carry. He's just a tough runner. But like you said, Tucker Kraft, man, he kind of stole the show as far as the receiving goes on for the Packers. Both quarterbacks were just kind of mid, man, completing about 50% of their passes. Nothing special. But, yeah, the Packers pulled it out. Jordan Love came in pretty strong there towards the end in the third quarter to get him back in the lead there, and they pulled it out. So good one for them.
So let me come to the quarterback's rescue real quick, which you won't hear me do very often, but if we're looking at why the quarterbacks played bad, like Noah said, Love's been dealing with an injury and terrible first half. But if you want to rate off just his second half, great second half, 2 touchdowns, allowed them to get the win. Matthew Stafford, on the other hand, has nobody over them. His top 2 receivers are hurt. Once he gets them back, I think he continues to do better. But as far as this game, Jordan Love's second half performance really showed me that he can hang in there with the best of them, and he looks great as a young quarterback in this league. The running backs, again, looked great. I love the running aspect of the game. Jacobs with 73 yards and a touchdown. But I'm just excited to see them get their receivers back and start seeing the Rams play like the Rams and that young Sean McVay offense. Until then, they're gonna have a rough time. They're 1-4, and I don't see it getting any better until they can get some help.
Absolutely. All right, guys, let's move on to the Cowboys versus Steelers. Both are 3-2 now. Cowboys pulled out the victory here, but it was kind of down to the wire there at the end as well with that. Give me y'all's thoughts on that, and let's go and start with you, Tyler.
Okay, so before I even get to that game, I did mean to mention this at the beginning. Last week was the longest day of football in NFL history, kicking off at like 9 a.m. Eastern, and then with the rain delay ending at, I think it was 12:59 Eastern time. It was 15 hours of football, and I loved every second. I don't know about you guys. But to the game, it's again not what I really wanted to see all around. Dak played like trash until the last drive of the game. I will give it to him. Jumping on that ball, we lose that game if he doesn't jump on that ball, obviously. Great
Cam
job
Newton
by
didn't do that.
Yeah, so I was about to get to that. Giving up your body as a quarterback is part of the position, and it shows your determination and how well you want to do. Cam Newton, other than not diving on the ball, we could tell was not committed in a lot of ways. But Jalen
Except
Tolbert.
to his fashion clothing.
Oh, great clothing. I mean, he'll get you every time there. Jalen Tolbert, great game. Way to come out and actually get in there. And I think Tyler Smith said he sprang his nuts and then came out the next play and scored a touchdown to win the game. Sorry, guys, not fucking. Because that was the problem, the word fucking, not spranging nuts. But anyway, I'm glad my boys could get it done. The defense played better than I expected them to. I really thought they were going to run the ball all over us. I don't know why Justin Fields didn't try to run the ball a little bit more. Our linebackers are terrible, and we had DeMarcus Lawrence and Micah Parsons out of the game. I feel like their offense just didn't move the way they should have. Had they played the way they can, they should have beat us by a lot, the way we played that game. But I don't have a lot to say about the Cowboys other than I'm glad they pulled the game out. I'm still hoping to see more. Pittsburgh defense looks great for the most part. I think they should put in Russell Wilson, but I'll leave that to the rest of it. But great win by the boys. That's all I'll say on it. Let's play better.
Yeah, this was first of all, I want to say two great defenses. I mean, I got to give credit there. I think both these defenses are really solid, superstars basically all over the field. But I think my main takeaway from this, guys, Steelers have no passing offense whatsoever. Like, I think a lot of people didn't really look at it the first few weeks because they were winning and, Fields was taking care of the ball. He wasn't turning it over or whatever, and he was using his legs a bit as well. But like you said, Tyler, only 6 rushes was 27 yards in this game for Fields. If he doesn't have that mobility factor with him, what are you really getting? Because only 131 yards. I mean, he didn't throw any interceptions. He had 2 touchdowns. But, like, in a game where the Steelers, in the future, if they get behind or they need to get in a game where they have to win a shootout, I don't see the Steelers having any chance winning games like that. I think the reason they started 3-0 was mostly Mike Tomlin, the fact the guy's an absolute genius, and the fact they have a great defense. But I think games like this are kind of exposing the flaws the Steelers have to where they can't even beat a Cowboys team that basically tried to gift them the game with 2 interceptions. Rico Dowdle fumbled as well. And if Dak didn't recover, on the one. And they still couldn't win. And they were at home as well against the Cowboys team that has not been even close to as good as they could be, that's for sure. Give credit to Cowboys, but Steelers, I think you're really starting to see this team just has no passing attack to be afraid of, and maybe one weapon in George Pickens and maybe Freiermuth. But other than that, I mean, if the quarterback isn't slinging it, can't get it to him, doesn't really matter in the end.
Maybe go look at Devontae Adams.
Maybe.
I completely agree. No, the Steelers are they're a mess in the passing game. Harris can only do so much. Fields just, I don't know, completing 50% of his passing, 131 yards. It's just not going to do it. He did get 2 passing touchdowns, but he can't produce enough to win like that. I thought Dak actually did okay. I mean, he is the only quarterback in NFL history to throw 2 interceptions in 2 different days in the same game. He's also the only. He's also I was about to get to that. I was going to give him his roses as well, but yeah, I mean, still, 350 yards, 2 passing touchdowns. He did pretty well. I do want to state that I did not think that the Cowboys were going to come in and outrush the Steelers, and they did. That's impressive enough in itself right there to me. But the Cowboys pulled it out. They like scoring 20 points. Apparently, that's back-to-back weeks. Noah, you said that there's two great defenses. I didn't know the Cowboys had a great defense. The last time I seen them play, they got outscored by like 30 points or something like that. But anyways, I mean, it was a good win for the Cowboys. Both teams are 3-2, and both teams, I mean, the Cowboys have a good chance of winning their division, but the Steelers, I just can't see them getting ahead of the Ravens. So yeah, that's where we're at with that.
First, I want to say, did you say you were going to give Dak his roses? When have you ever given a Cowboy their roses? I gotta get that on.
That's going to be the only time that's going to happen. So.
I would imagine so. And yeah, no, it said great defense. With our injuries, definitely not. But I will say we're getting Deron Bland back, and if we can get our other guys back, maybe it'll start looking a little bit better. But we got to get some help in the middle of the field in the linebacker position. But let's move on to the next one. Another. I've been waiting for this all week. David, get me started on the Saints and Chiefs.
I thought the Saints were on their bye week.
It looked like it. It sure did look like
it. Okay. All right. Yeah, that's ridiculous. It's embarrassing. That's the worst offensive and defensive performance of the year by the Saints by far. Offensive line was just ass. Couldn't block anything. Yeah, it was atrocious. Not to mention Derek Carr getting injured. Not a major injury. Should be out a couple of weeks, but there is a little light at the end of the tunnel. We get to see what Rattler gets to do. I'm kind of excited for him, but that's another talk. As far as this game, it was just awful. Kubiak looked lost. He didn't have an answer as far as offensive play calling. The Saints just got outcoached, outplayed, and Mahomes is a slippery son of a bitch. I don't know how he gets. He's not fast, but he gets out of pressure, and I don't know. I don't like the officiating there in Arrowhead either. I'll just leave it at that. But that's my take on that there. So,
had this score been like 26-23, I'd have given you the referee thing, but 26-13, I don't think I can give you that one.
Oh, I didn't say that's why they lost. I just said I don't like their officiating.
That just sounds like everybody that's lost to the Chiefs this year. Anyway, Noah, what do you got on this game? Let's hear what you got. I'd like to see a different, not Saints fan perspective.
Man, it's weird, right? Because the Saints, the first 2 weeks, they looked basically unstoppable, and since then, it's just they've gone down a cliff. And it's kind of weird because I feel like the Falcons and the Saints have done the exact opposite thing. Whereas the Falcons have gotten better, and the offense is kind of starting to explode now. The Saints have fallen off a cliff. Play calling looks terrible. Offensive line, I mean, they have been banged up a little bit, but still not good at all. Derek Carr with the interception. Major takeaway, I haven't heard a lot of people mention, Saints had no running game at all in this game, which that was their bread and butter the first couple of weeks. AK was killing it, and this game he had 2.4 yards per carry. And the Saints defense, I mean, again, it's like for Patrick Mahomes, it was a mid-game because he had no touchdowns and one interception, but he still gave up 331 yards against Kareem Hunt. Wasn't even on the team to start the season, over 100 yards and a touchdown. Like you said, Mahomes can be slippery as well. I mean, look, when Juju Smith-Schuster's dropping 130 receiving yards on your head, there's something wrong with your defense right there. Only major takeaway, like positively, I would take as a Saints fan. I really like what I've seen this season from Rashid Shaheed. Another touchdown in this game. He's looking like a really solid deep threat for them. He also did gift the Falcons a win. So he's got to be one of my favorite Saints. But, Chiefs, the Chiefs still look like they're in second gear, man. Like they're not even close to full potential, and they're still somehow 5-0.
That's the scariest part.
They've had so many close. Well, granted, this one wasn't close. This was an embarrassing game, but yeah, I mean, they're only going to get better, and they're 5-0. Like, what else can you say, man?
I will say they finally got Travis Kelce involved a little bit. I did like to see that. I'm a huge Kelce fan. I know David probably wasn't wanting to see him do well that week. We almost saw two Mahomes get to play. Did y'all see the throws by y'all's backup quarterback? He tried to make some crazy throws. Completed one of them. Had he 2 inches to the left, he completed that other one, that submarine throw, we might be having a different conversation. But all around, all around. Now the Saints don't look like the same team that I watched destroy my Cowboys. I don't know what y'all had figured out then, or maybe we were just that bad. Maybe Carolina and the Cowboys are just the two worst teams in the NFL, and I hate to break it to you, David, but maybe that's just the truth of it. Again, like Noah said, Kansas City does not look like they're playing at their full potential, and that is scary on their quest to this three-peat. If they get turned up on the offensive side, like the defense is playing great, but if the offense gets turned on the way I know they can, we are in for some trouble. We might be just seeing that three-peat pretty quickly. But like Noah said, when you can shut down Kamara to 26 yards on like 11 carries or something, that's a huge win. I watched y'all's offense do a whole lot of motioning against us. Where did that go? It's like
I think that's with injured offensive line not being able to push like they are. We're on our fourth center, and that's just it's tough. We're like third deep on a couple of guard positions, and it's just it's rough goings right now.
The injuries around the NFL this year just they're there for sure. There's a lot of big ones.
We just have a lot of soft tissue injuries, and that's not good. They need to figure that out. And I also need to say that look how different our offense is with Taysom Hill in and out. He's been out, and they don't look the same at all.
I will say, I get a lot of hate from David for being a Derek Carr hater. I was really high on him out of Fresno, and then he came in and just didn't do what I thought he was going to do. So, like I said at the beginning of the year, David, what did I tell you? Put in Spencer Rattler, y'all might have a chance. So let's see if I was right there.
We'll see. I hope you are. Hell, I hope you're right, because what's been going on can't work. But he's going to be going into a tough situation for sure with our offensive line. That's going to be tough for anybody. So,
right. Well, my thing with Derek Carr has always been, I think he's slightly above average. I think he's a good player, but I always use the joke, no DC is ever going into the game saying, man, we got to focus on Derek Carr. We cannot let him beat us in this game. And I think to win a Super Bowl in this era, I think you kind of need a guy like that can just will, like what we saw from Lamar or what Burrow almost did. You need a guy that can basically will your team to
unless you're San Francisco.
Unless you're San Francisco, in which case you have Kyle Shanahan and you're fine until you get the Super Bowl. But yeah. All right, guys. So that's going to do it for our recap segment. Now we're going to get to segment 2, which is play of the week. Now we got some interesting ones here. I'm going to start it off. I'm going to go back to the Ravens-Bengals game, and I saw one of the most ridiculous plays I have ever seen. It was to make this game 38-35 Bengals, but it was from a Ravens player. I have Lamar Jackson's touchdown pass to Isaiah Likely, rolls out of the pocket, stiff arms like a 250-pound defensive lineman to the ground, and is able to buy some time and delivers a beautiful pass, cross body as well, into coverage. Probably not a throw you want your quarterback to make a lot, but if they can complete it, I mean, fair enough. Was able to get the Ravens back within 3. Incredible play for me.
Absolutely. Likely he's a nice player, and that was a beautiful connection for sure. I'll go ahead and go next. So mine was a defensive play. It was Patrick Surtain with a 99-yard pick six off of Minshew. Minshew just threw a bad pass. It was a beautiful pickoff, and he just ran 99 yards untouched. So that was a beautiful play there from Surtain.
Surtain's fast, and yeah, you're like you said, untouched. Great play by him. I have to go with the Dak Prescott recovery of the ball on the 1 yard line on that fumble on the last drive, just because without that we lose the game. I was torn between that and the touchdown pass, but without the recovery, the touchdown pass doesn't happen.
Right.
Great job by Dak, just being a selfless player. I guess technically not a play people would have thought would be a play of the week, but I got to give him his roses for going out there and actually getting it done.
Absolutely. I'm right there with you. All right, guys, segment 3, we're going to move into here. It's titled In a Slump. I'll go ahead and go first. So the player that I selected that is just he's playing uncharacteristically bad is Keenan Allen. He's only played 3 games, but he's also only reeled in 10 of his 20 targets for 81 yards. Now, I know a lot of that is quarterback play. but that's just not like Keenan Allen. He's always been productive with pretty much whoever's been throwing him the ball, and he just can't seem to get on rhythm there. He just doesn't look in his old self. It looks like he's lost a step. So that's why I went there with in a slump.
Keenan Allen's actually one of my favorite receivers in the league and has been since he came in. I don't know if this is just because there's so many different receivers over there. He's going through injury, or if this is maybe the end of his career. But I don't know if y'all know if y'all ever seen the Masked Singer. He's been on there as well. He can sing pretty good. So maybe he's got a backup career. But I'd love to see him keep playing. I'll go ahead and turn that to Noah. You got anything on Keenan Allen, Noah?
I think he's a good player. I just think he's getting up there in age, man. What is he like? Got to be like 32, 33 at this point. He's been in the league for 11 years. Mm-hmm. He's got to – because Chicago has some good receivers, man. DJ Moore is an animal. He had a big revenge game against the Panthers as well. I think he just needs to settle in. I mean, he's never been a guy that's like really explosive, more of a possession guy, sure-handed receiver. But yeah. I mean, I got to be honest. I completely forgot. I almost forgot he was on the Bears this season because where's the impact plays? Mm-hmm. But I think if you just let him settle in a bit more, I think he's a really good receiver. I don't think it'll go too long. It also comes down to the fact like the Bears offensive line is just horrendous. So like I think there's a lot of missed potential there in their passing game because of that. Caleb Williams is, going through the rookie ups and downs. I've liked some of what I've seen, and then other plays I'm like, I have no idea what this guy is doing. Don't know who he's throwing to, what he's even thinking. But yeah, Bears inconsistent, but they would take being inconsistent over what they've been for years, which is straight garbage.
Absolutely.
Go ahead, Noah, because I kind of want to hear your take on what you have here.
Right. So this is an interesting one because I think his last game was actually all right. But for mine, I've actually gone with Patrick Mahomes because if you look what he's done over the season, I know the Chiefs are 5-0, but if you just look a little bit deeper into some of the stats, number one, he's actually tied for the league lead in interceptions with Will Levis and Anthony Richardson. Now, he does have way more pass attempts than those two guys, but 6 interceptions on only 160 attempts. He could be on pace if he keeps that up for over 20 interceptions this season. Also, passer rating, 19th in all of the NFL. He is below guys like Andy Dalton, Geno, Dak, Brock Purdy, Justin Fields, and my boy Derek Carr coming in at number 8. There you go. QBR, which is kind of a mixed stat. I don't really like it, but in case people like it, he's 16th in that as well. So I don't think this is a trend. I think, he'll still be top 3 the rest of the year at least. I still think he's the most talented quarterback in the NFL by far. But just for his very high expectations, only 6 touchdown passes as well. That is good enough for 13th, tied for 13th in the league. But for very high expectations, I think he's been very mid. Way too many turnovers, too much inaccuracy. Again, they've won anyway, so I think a lot of people aren't really looking at it like that too closely. But yeah, I think he's for his high standards, he's definitely been in the slump for me.
I completely agree with you. I mean, I feel like they've been winning because of their defense. Their defense is stout. They shut down the run, and he's really hasn't had to do much to win them games. So yeah, I agree with you. He's not playing like an MVP player.
David, you know what wins championships?
Defense.
There you go. And whenever you're winning, they'll discount a lot of things for you. That's all I'll say on that. I just saw Patrick Mahomes pop up in a slump segment, and I was like, wait, what? Okay. But I mean, yeah, the stats are there. He needs to go buy his defense some new gifts instead of his O-line because they're saving him. I'll move on to mine. I went with the quarterback as well, one that is actually slumping and getting people fired. Aaron Rodgers. I mean, the man is literally getting a defensive coach fired for his bad playing. His last 2 games, he's played horrendous. He played okay the first ones, but these last 2 games, going over to London and just completely choking the game. His stat line was just not Aaron Rodgers. Like, I haven't seen him move around like Aaron Rodgers. I don't know if that's age, injuries he's gone through or what, but he is not playing well. Over the last 2 weeks, I think he's got a 53 pass completion, he's got more interceptions than touchdowns. He's 2 for 3 on the interception to touchdown ratio, and it's just he's not playing like Aaron Rodgers. He was supposed to come over there to a stacked Jets team and win them a Super Bowl. Yet
No,
he's
he got their
losing
head coach fired.
Right, and now he's losing games and getting a defensive-minded guy. Yeah, I'm sure we'll get into that. That's a whole crazy situation. What happened there was the former U.S. ambassador went over to around his buddies and lost a game that he probably claimed he was going to win. Did some emotional firing. But yeah, I got to go with Aaron Rodgers. He's just not playing like Aaron Rodgers. We're talking top 3-4 Hall of Fame guy. Like you toss out recent quarterback names and he's in there as a great. But he's not Aaron Rodgers anymore.
No, he's not. He hasn't looked very good at all. I agree with you completely. And I think a lot of that is offensive play calling as well. I think they probably have the worst did have the worst offensive play caller calling plays. But Rodgers kind of does his own thing anyway, so that's no excuse. But yeah, you're right, man. He has not looked himself at all.
But real quick, his last 2 games, he's 53 for 96. And I mean, that's not Aaron Rodgers like at all.
No. 2
touchdowns, 3 interceptions. And again, only player in the league so far that has gotten their head coach fired. If you had asked me, they're 2-3, 1 game out of the division. What are they doing? But no, if you'd asked me who the first head coach to get fired, I would not have said Robert Saleh. Just took me by surprise. He's got to play better. If he doesn't play better, then they're all getting fired. So,
yeah.
Yep, Rodgers is finished.
I think he is. But let's move on to the next segment. Who's hot? David, start it off for us.
Mine's kind of bittersweet. I went with Nico Collins. He just went on the IR, but the guy has just been absolutely balling out. He's placed 3rd in receptions with 32. He's 1st in yards with 567 receiving yards. He's averaging 113 yards per game. He's been completely balling out. And had he not got injured, he was on pace for 1,928 receiving yards for the season. So I felt like prior to his injury, he has been hot.
By far has been the best receiver in the league, which is crazy on a team that has Stephon Diggs.
Right.
Stephon Diggs being a second, I will say he's doing that tremendously. He's not crying about the ball like someone has said.
Surprising.
But yeah, I think you're right. Other than, like you said, bittersweet, now he's injured and all those on-pace stats don't matter. Hopefully he gets a quick recovery. Come see him play some more ball because he and the Houston Texans are lighting it up.
Absolutely.
Noah, you got anything on old injured Nico Collins?
Man, it sucks to see because he's just so consistent. He's been elite this year, so it's a shame to see him get injured like that. But yeah, I definitely think that was a great pick. And luckily for the Texans, it always sucks to lose a player like that. But they do have Stephon Diggs and Tank Dell to step up for them, who I think are 2 really good players. I think Tank Dell's kind of flown under the radar this season because of the addition of Diggs and because Collins has been so ridiculous. But he was their guy last year. So I think he can step in and do a good job. Brian Attard saying, welcome aboard. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it, Brian.
Great to start this up with you guys.
Absolutely.
I have actually gone with a defensive player, a player that probably doesn't get a lot of plaudits, but an underrated guy and a guy that's been elite so far this season. I'm going with Xavier McKinney of the Green Bay Packers. If you look at his stats this season, guys, this is even nuts to say. Interceptions in 5 straight games. Obviously leads the NFL in interceptions. He's also tied for 5th with 6 pass deflections this year. Had a fumble recovery against the Rams as well. Directly contributing to your team winning games. Add in 20 tackles as well. He's been elite this season, man. Coming over from the Giants, where he was kind of obviously not really focused on because the Giants were so bad for so many years. But last season, he had 116 tackles as a safety. This guy can do it all, man. And he has just absolutely been a quarterback's worst nightmare this season for Packers defense that, is kind of, I think, hitting their stride at the right time. And he's been the star standout for them there.
Absolutely. I agree.
I'm just glad to not see him in the division anymore because, like you said, he's a stud. So I'm going to go with a little heartfelt to Noah, I'm gonna go with Kirk Cousins. 2 divisional back-to-back game-winning drives. I got to give it to him, Captain Kirk, man. I will say I'll give to his quarterback skills, not his dancing skills. He never needs to do that again. But
Yeah.
he's getting fired up, and I'm sure the Atlanta fans loved it. But the dude is on a tear. I mean, we already mentioned the 509 yards, and then to be able to, I mean, we always have known that Kirk Cousins is a great regular season ice in the veins quarterback. I'd love to see him be able to do it in the playoffs. David might not love to see that, but
No, not now.
He's playing great, and I hope we see him keep it up. And I'd like to see that Kadarius Hodges get a little bit more involved. That dude was quick.
Yeah, he is. He's barely played too. That was like his second catch all season or something.
Absolutely. I've always liked Cousins until now. He's always just been a gamer and just a gunslinger to me. I like him when he was with Washington and then in Minnesota. But yeah, the pass to Paulson Adebo in the Saints game was beautiful. I meant to, but
real quick,
yeah, I
before
agree
we
with
move
you.
on, David, I got to see him leave our division. How did you feel when the news broke that he signed with Atlanta? Because I know how you felt after they drafted Penix.
So yeah, I was excited for that pick for them. I mean, honestly, coming off of an injury, he's a little bit older. I wasn't. I thought he was going to come in as the number one or the best quarterback in the division, but I thought it was going to be really close between him, Baker, and Carr. But it's not. It's between Baker and him right now. But if he keeps up like he did this last game, he'll be running away with it for sure.
I mean, yeah, if he throws for 500 yards a game, he's breaking all the records, and we just give him the trophy now.
Almost as good as Matty Ice, you know what I mean?
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that.
I was
This
about
was
to
so
say.
funny. On the night where Matt Ryan gets put in the Falcons' Ring of Honor, Kirk Cousins breaks his 504 yards.
That's hilarious.
That was hilarious.
But I will say, Matt Ryan did it in regulation. Kirk Cousins needed overtime to do it.
That is true.
I'll throw that in there. But yeah, I think if we're just going off the whole season, guys, I think Baker's been the best in the division because Kirk took a while to get going. But it's clear he's getting healthier. Like I think people were focusing on how bad he had an Achilles like Rodgers did, but he had that Achilles way later. Rodgers had it in 4 plays. Kirk Cousins had it mid-season, and he was trying to come back and play on it. And you could tell the way he was moving, the play calling, we called a lot of
lack of moving.
Yeah. Like I think he's only going to get healthier. I think that's going to really help the play calling. And obviously he still has the arm. Like we saw that. You just need to see it consistently. But moving on to our next segment, on this day in sports history. Now this will be a fun one. David, let's start with you on this one. What do you have?
All right. In 1964, Mickey Mantle hit a game-winning home run in the bottom of the 9th in Game 3 of the World Series to give New York the 2-1 victory. The long ball was Mantle's 16th World Series home run, breaking the legend Babe Ruth's standing record.
That's awesome. Being a baseball.
Hello?
Uh-oh.
I think he might have had an issue there, it looks like. Well, I guess while we wait for him to see if he comes back, I'll go ahead and do mine. So in 1911, the American League and National League of the MLB crowned their inaugural Most Valuable Player awards. In the AL, you had Ty Cobb, who won the MVP, the only MVP of his career, funny enough, in a season where he had 248 hits, 47 doubles, 24 triples, which sounds crazy now, but back then it was way more common, obviously. Only 8 home runs because, barely any home runs back then. 127 RBIs and an OPS of over 1,000. He had an insane season, 196 OPS as well. And in the NL, it was, I might be mispronouncing this because Frank Schulte, in the NL, let me get up his stats real quick. This was also the only MVP of his career, funny enough. But that season for the Chicago Cubs, okay, I see why he won it. He had 21 home runs in an era where guys were lucky to even hit 10. 107 RBIs.
Well ahead of his time.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's just insane. And it's funny because when I look at the rest of his career, other than that, he only had 3 of the season where he even reached double digits. So yeah,
Wow.
definitely a great season for him. Tyler says
Absolutely.
he'll be back real quick soon. So
That's
while we
fine.
wait,
We'll go ahead and move into the next segment here.
okay.
In the world of other sports, what do you have here?
I have a great one here. I want to talk a little bit about college football because, man, there were some. I know your team didn't play this week, but there were some crazy results in this game, upset wise.
Mhm.
First of all, the most obvious and glaring one, Alabama losing to Vanderbilt. I mean, that was just absolutely ridiculous to see. 40-35.
Nuts.
It was crazy, man. I gotta say I'm happy for Vandy. They've been really
Yeah,
competitive
absolutely.
this season. They're 3-2, and their only losses were by like 3 and 4 points, I think. So
Mhm.
they've been really good this season. It's a little bittersweet to me because it kind of makes you think like, man, is this really the team we lost to because we had that disastrous first half? But give credit to Vandy, man. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's fun to always laugh at Alabama losing because obviously I'm a professional hater because I hate their guts because they always beat us. But give
Yep.
Vandy credit, man. That's the biggest win in their school's history by far. But past that, there were some other big ones. First of all, Miami got lucky against Cal. There should have been 6 teams that lost in the top 11, but they escaped. A&M, I know Tyler's going to talk about them later, so I won't touch on that one too much, but they
Mhm.
killed number 9 Missouri. Michigan lost. They were number 10. They lost to Washington
Mhm.
by 10. And then USC as well, man, losing to Minnesota 24-17. And of course, I had to save my favorite for last, the Tennessee Volunteers, only scoring 14 points. That offense getting all that, adulation and stuff, losing to the
Mhm.
Arkansas Razorbacks
Mm.
19-14. Gotta love it, man.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'll be talking about UFC 307 here. Man, it was a really good overall card. A lot of action back and forth. Jose Aldo lost a close decision there. Juliana Pena beat Raquel Pennington by decision, which a lot of people think that the judges messed that fight up. I kind of agree with them, actually. I thought Pennington did enough to win the fight. But the main event, man, Alex Pereira versus Khalil Roundtree. It was a great fight, back and forth. Pierre, he controlled the fight. He's just a freak of nature. He looked like he was in a weight class ahead of Roundtree, much taller, much longer. But Roundtree, man, was throwing bombs whenever he did connect. But Pierre knocked him out in the 4th round, dismantled his face, split his eyelid completely open. He just absolutely destroyed him. He actually outlanded Roundtree by landing 129 strikes to Roundtree's 62 strikes. So completely just destroyed him with strike count as well as damage, and then finished the fight in the 4th round, really turned it on and just put him to sleep.
Well, I gotta be honest. I know next nothing against USC, but Alex is one of my favorite guys because I've seen the meme of him with the Moai statue because of how
Mhm.
his face looks. That's one of my favorites. But yeah, good win for him, man. TKO as well. So
Yeah.
again, me trying to talk about UFC is like it's just not going to happen. But hey, good win for him, and it sounds like it was a entertaining card. That's for sure.
Absolutely. Very good.
Let's see who starts. Okay, Tyler starts this one, so I'll just go ahead and do this one. We're
Sure.
gonna quickly recap our college football teams. David, I'll start with you on this one. Obviously, I know LSU was on the bye.
Yeah, we had a bye week there, so that was nice to not get a loss there. But man, we've got a tough stretch ahead, and our defense kind of concerns me. I just feel like I feel like it's not up to par, and it's not what LSU looks like. You know what I mean? They starting off with the number 9 ranked Old Miss. I think that's going to be a good game. I think it'll probably be back and forth, but I'll go ahead and say I've got LSU pulling it out. I'll say 38-34 is my prediction there. I think they'll win it, but it's going to be, like I said, a tough game, and the defense really has to tighten up. They can't stop a nosebleed whenever it comes to run defense. Everybody can run over them, and they got to lock that down. And they just gotta start faster. They finish pretty strong, but they start very slow and sloppy. And I feel like they need to start faster and just really a lot of that I think comes down to coaching, but they just have to execute better as well. So
You good,
welcome
man?
back, sir.
I'm back. Maybe if I don't,
Right.
maybe if I don't run into the computer, that won't happen. I'll pull it down next time.
You're good,
I know
man.
y'all probably got it pretty far ahead, but y'all go ahead and I'll just jump in where we at.
Well, we were just talking about our college teams real quick, but we only skipped the 2 segments, so you can go. So we'll start with on this day in sports history for you.
Yeah.
Okay, on this day in sports history, let me get back to that real quick. All right, so on this day in sports history, I actually had in 1994, the New York Giants retired the great Lawrence Taylor's number. What a monster of a man. Right outside linebacker, for those of you that don't know, for the New York Giants. This man was just feared. He ended his career with 114 sacks, which is just crazy. He played all 13 seasons for the Giants, so it felt right when they retired it. I mean, I wasn't alive, but I know the Giants fans were happy. So, and that's a great name to go down in history.
Absolutely.
And then other sports news. What did you want to bring up here? I love this one.
Other sports news. So I had, if I can get back to all my stuff pulled back up, I have the New York Mets eliminating the Philadelphia Phillies in the playoffs. For those of you that don't follow baseball as closely as I do, Philadelphia Phillies were going into this postseason as one of the hottest teams. Other than like the Yankees, they're up there predicted to win, and the Mets came in there and just shocked them. I loved it. The Polar Bears playing great. Anything y'all got on this? I don't know how closely you guys follow baseball. I'm pretty into it. So
I've been following it a little bit, but not as much as I want to, because I've got to be honest. I hate every team left in the NL, and then like in the AL, I don't really mind any of the teams except for the Yankees. I will say I think Pete Alonso, if the playoffs ended right now, would probably be playoff MVP. I think he's been nuts, and that home run he hit was just clutch. I absolutely despise both these teams, but like gun to my head, if I had to pick a team to win, probably the Mets, just because I do at least know some Mets fans I respect. There's not many of them, but there's a few. Whereas basically every Phillies fan I know is just, especially because I'm a Braves fan and they've beaten us the past 2 years, they're just the biggest trash talking a-holes that exist pretty much. So it's nice to see them get eliminated. Hopefully they can dig out their NLDS champs shirts from the last 2 years to make them feel a little bit better.
I mean, other than the Rangers, completely just going from first to last, Atlanta really surprised me this year. I thought they were going to be a lot better, but I mean, I thought the same thing last year. But yeah, I mean, same as you. I don't really like either of these teams, but I've got to pull the Mets over the Phillies in that one. So,
all right, back to our originally scheduled topic. We were talking about our college football teams. David talked about LSU for a bit there. I'm going to talk briefly about UGA. Decent, I wouldn't say amazing, but decent comeback result against a mediocre at best Auburn team after the Alabama loss, 31-13. Beck, I think, looked solid, completed 23 of 29 with 2 touchdowns. Trevor Etienne, I almost called him Travis, averaged 5.5 yards per carry and had 2 touchdowns, so he's kind of settling in as a big part of our rotation. Auburn's offense kind of did what I expected, which is really not a lot. They don't really have – I mean, Jarquez Hunter, I think, is an animal at running back, but past that, Keandre Lambert-Smith is good at receiver, but, I mean, Peyton Thorne is not great for them, and their play calling is atrocious. We did have some bad news. Colby Young got basically, he beat up a pregnant woman pretty much. There's no nice way to say it. So, hopefully he gets cut from the team, which I hate to say because he's been good, and he was actually a leading receiver this game. But, yeah, you can't have that. This week we play Mississippi State, who's one of the, if not the worst team in the SEC. And we need to win this game because it is a home game, and it's our last game before we play Texas on the road as well.
I need y'all to beat Texas. Texas.
Yeah, it's not going to be easy, man. They look great.
They look great.
But, yeah, that's what I have for UGA right there.
All right, so I'll move on to Texas A&M. I thought the game was going to be a lot closer. I actually originally said, this might have been to David, that if we started Connor Wegman, that we may lose this game. This kid balled. I'll take everything I said back. Marcel Reed, not to take anything from him, he played great in his time there. But Wegman came back and was like, "Oh, I'm not losing my job as a senior. This isn't happening." He went out, 276 yards, 18 for 22, no touchdown passes. That's because our offense of running backs just dominated the game. Between Amari Daniels and Le'Veon Moss, there was no need for touchdown passes. Le'Veon Moss ran for 12 carries, 138 yards, and a touchdown. Amari Daniels had 2 touchdowns. And then we just brought in Emmitt Smith's son, EJ Smith, to just kind of get some play in. Overall, I'm very happy for the way the Aggies are playing. Very excited to see them get some more matchups up in the top 10. We moved all the way from 25 to 15 with that win. And with all those crazy losses in college football last week, I don't know what was
well deserved.
I mean, I guess when you play when you pay the players and you have a little bit more evenness in the teams, maybe there's a chance for this 12-team playoff to look kind of good. It won't be dominated by the top 4 or 5 teams, and I'm excited to see that. So I'm looking forward to the rest of the college football year. Aggies got a bye this week, but they come back the following week, and they have Mississippi State. So y'all go ahead and get them whipped up for us, and we'll finish it up.
Hey man, we'll try our best. But first of all, I mean, amazing win. I mean, I thought they could win. I didn't think they'd blow them out.
Yeah,
but then again,
dominated them.
Yeah, but I mean, granted, Missouri did almost lose to Vanderbilt, and they probably should have if not for the kicker missing 2 field goals. But like, that's a statement win. And I was kind of like, I did not like Wigman, Tyler, like at all. And once he went out and Marcel Reed came in, I was like, well, that's your guy pretty much, because he came in and just dominated, had some big wins. But credit to Wigman, he comes back. He had a really good game. They looked impressive. And to be honest, the only loss was to Notre Dame. And, I know it was 23-13, but I think it was a bit closer than that.
It was very close. They scored a touchdown in the last minute of the game to just put it up and make it look worse. They didn't have to score that touchdown. They did it there's no chance of us getting the ball back, and they scored. I hope we see them again. I would love to see them in the playoffs, and because that was just disrespectful, especially coming from Mike Elko being Leonard's coach last year. I was just like, really? Okay, so that's how we're playing this. But yes, it was a lot closer than what it was led to be.
Yeah.
UT, like you said, UT looks really good though, and they are in our division now. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, isn't that your last game of the season, actually?
It is our last game of the season, and for those of you that don't know, UT and the Aggies have a huge rivalry, or at least the Aggies hate them. They don't really pay much mind to us, but hopefully that'll change this year. So we'll see.
Hopefully. I think, man, the big thing for them was finally firing Jimbo Fisher, because he was underachieving with those ridiculous recruiting classes.
Big time.
Then you get him Elko, who worked wonders at Duke pretty much, and then you add the talent in. Got a really good team.
Oh yeah,
really
man, I was excited when we hired Elko. I've known he was a good coach for a while, and like you said, Jimbo was just not getting it done. He kind of just was playing his name and just kind of laxed. So glad he's out.
All right, guys. 8th and final segment of the show. We're going to get into some predictions here for Week 6. I put in betting lines, over/under as well. These are all accurate as of last night from ESPN. So we'll start with this one. NFC South matchup between the Bucs and the Saints. Bucs 3.5-point favorite, over/under of 41.5. And David, obviously I'll start with you on this one, but if you asked me about this game 2 weeks ago, I would have said the Saints for sure, because they looked amazing. Now, I mean, they kind of fallen off a cliff in the Bucs. I know they lost, but their offense still looks really good. So what's your read on this game?
And with Derek Carr out, rookie getting his first start against a division rival, Baker's look good. I've got the Bucs pulling it out pretty handily, 28-17. I would love to live in a fantasy world and say Rattler's going to come out and throw for 400 yards and 5 touchdowns, but it's just not realistic, especially with the poor offensive line we have. I feel like they're really going to kind of be going all in to kind of to just rush after and just kind of get him out of the pocket, which it could be good. He does tend to Rattler has been known to make plays out of the pocket. He played at South Carolina with an awful offensive line his whole career, or not his whole career, but with an awful offensive line. And so he is used to bad offensive line play. So I do give him that. But being a division rival, I just got to go. I hate to say it, but I'll say the Bucs. Like I said, Bucks 28, Saints 17.
You're a better man than me because I'll tell you right now, the Cowboys are probably predicted to lose this game big, and I can't go against them. But yeah, on this game, I got to give it to the Bucks as well. Like Noah said 2 weeks ago, I'm taking the Saints hands down, especially after watching them just destroy us. Little different circumstances now. I don't know if the offense is kind of figured out or what's going on there, but they need to tune it back up. And then without Carr, I like Rattler, and I think he's going to be a great quarterback for y'all in the future with the powerful arm he has. But I think the Bucks get it done, and my A&M guy Mike Evans goes for 2 more touchdowns.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I think Marshawn Lattimore has his number, but we'll see.
Well, we'll see if there's some more punches thrown.
Yeah,
right.
Definitely not impossible. I think with this one, I mean, it is in New Orleans, which that's a really tough place to play. So if the Saints do have any shot, I think it'll be because of that. But I mean, just looking at it, comparison to comparison, I think the Bucks have the advantage at quarterback. Both teams have good running games, but I mean, AK did have a off week last week, and man, Bucky Irving looks insane. Weapons wise, I give it to the Bucks. I think Shaheed has looked really good, but I mean, you got Evans and Godwin, and then you throw in Otten at tight end. Offensive line, Saints are banged up. Defensively, Saints have been giving up granted, both teams have been getting up a lot of yards. I mean, maybe call that a push or something, but yeah, give me the Bucks, man. Like I said, if Derek Carr was playing and maybe they looked a little better recently, I'd pick the Saints, especially at home. But I'll pick the Bucks to win this one.
And real quick, the Bucks might go ahead. Give your prediction. I'm sorry.
I was going to say 24-14.
Oh, okay. The Bucks might want to get used to playing on the road because that hurricane did some numbers on Tampa, ripped off the baseball stadium, and I don't know if y'all seen the Tampa Bay Bucks stadium. It's pretty underwater. So, like you said, they got to play in New Orleans. But that's a good place to start getting comfortable learning to play on the road because it's loud in there. But yeah, no, we'll see how it goes.
Absolutely. What's your prediction there?
Mine, I 28-17.
28-17. Gotcha.
I'm going with the Bucks, 28-17.
All right, we'll move on to the next game here. Commanders versus Ravens. I think this is going to be an absolute shootout. I think it's going to be a very exciting game. Tyler, let's start with you. What's your predictions there?
Okay, so I'm actually going to take the Ravens in this game. I know the Commanders are 4-1. Jaden Daniels looks great, but I don't see them stopping Derrick Henry per se. I think he has a big day, and then not only do you have to guard Derrick Henry when you play the Ravens, you also have to watch the quarterback because he likes to run a little bit too. So yeah, I'm going to go with the the Ravens on this one. I'm sorry. I think it's going to be a very, very close game. So I think I'm going to go, but a shootout. I'll go 31-28 Ravens on that one, because I just don't see them stopping Derrick Henry, and then I don't see Jaden Daniels not balling out and having a great game. So I think it's going to be a shootout in somewhere around 31-28.
Okay.
This is a tough one. I think this will be a really good game. I mean, I've been really impressed with Washington. They've been amazing. Jaden Daniels has come in and maybe took a week or two to acclimate, but since that Bengals game, he's been going off pretty much. Their offense looks explosive. Brian Robinson looks good, but he is questionable for this game, so that's something to keep an eye on. Overall, I think even though they've been amazing, I think the Ravens are just a more complete team currently than Washington is. Lamar has looked, really good lately. I mean, obviously just diced up the Bengals, and Derrick Henry, I mean, averaging 6 yards per carry, 6 touchdowns. Their offense is really starting to get it going. My only concern, both of these teams have had suspect defensive moments. Ravens choked against the Raiders and almost choked against the Cowboys as well. And then even though Washington did beat Cincy, it was really close. It's basically one of those whoever gets the ball last games wins. So I think there's going to be a lot of points scored. But overall, I think the Ravens just have a little more talent. So give me the Ravens to win this one, 34-31.
And Noah, I heard you say that he's getting 6.1 yards a carry, Derrick Henry. The Washington defense is also giving up 5.1 yards a carry, so that's going to be interesting.
Absolutely, I like it. To your point with him pulling out games at the end, I feel like their luck is going to run out here. I feel like the Commanders are going to outscore them 37-31. I like how Daniels has been playing. I like their play calling, and I feel like they're gonna kind of shock this game. I feel like the Ravens are the favorites, but I like the Commanders in the upset here.
Okay, little difference here. I like it. I like it.
Yeah.
So that's going to take us on to our next game. That's got us with the Cardinals at Green Bay and Lambeau. Lead us off, Noah.
Tough game. I think, two offenses, they're kind of getting going lately. Kyler he looked amazing the first couple weeks. I think he's kind of fallen a little bit back down to earth, but it's, still has impact play potential in him. Jordan Love getting healthy. Needs to stop turning the ball over, though. He has 5 interceptions this season. Granted, 3 of them came against in that Vikings game, but I really like him when he's healthy. So I think as he gets more healthy as time goes along, he'll be good. 2 solid running games, maybe not elite, but Josh Jacobs this season is averaging well over 4 yards per carry. Same thing for James Conner. Receiving wise, Marvin Harrison Jr. is the standout guy, but I think the Packers have solid weapons with Jaden Reed. I know Christian Watson got hurt. I actually haven't looked at his availability, to be honest. But
Yeah, I'm not sure either.
At Lambeau, I'm going to give the Packers a very slight edge in this one, 28-24.
On that, real quick, Christian Watson is a game time decision as well as Tucker Kraft.
Gotcha.
Right on. Funny enough, I agree with everything you said. I think these teams are very similar, actually, in position as far as across the board. I'm gonna go ahead and actually do the exact scores as you, but the opposite. I'm gonna have the Cardinals going 28, Packers 24 in this one.
All right, that's very similar. I agree with you, David. I think these teams are very similar, and I think the quarterbacks are somewhat similar. I think Jordan Love's got the edge, and I think that's what this game comes down to: is which quarterback plays better. And if I've got to put all my water in one boat there, I'm going to go with Jordan Love, obviously. I'm going to go with the Packers winning this one 24-21, just off the fact that I think Kyler Murray is going to make a couple mistakes.
All right, guys. Next game. This is this one's hard to say because these teams have been very inconsistent. I think Justin Herbert has gotten injured, and I still don't really think he's back to 100%. And on the other side, Bo Nix has, to say the least, been a complete mixed bag. So, David, start with you on this one. It is in Denver. What do you think of this game?
I actually like Denver in this game. They just defeated the Raiders 34-18, kind of blew them out the water. I feel like Nix had a really solid game, 19 of 27 for 206 yards and 2 touchdowns, very efficient. I feel like him and Sean Payton are finally kind of starting to see eye to eye a little bit. I don't know how far he'll be able to bring him, how good he can, or how developed he can get him in a quick way. But I'm going to go ahead and go with the Broncos here. I'm going to go Broncos 24, Chargers 21. I feel like the Chargers are still trying to figure everything out. So I'm going to go ahead and go with Broncos there.
Okay. As far as Sean Payton and Bo Nix getting along, I don't know, they got into a pretty good screaming match on the sideline last weekend. But so does Tom Brady with all his coaches. So maybe he's the next GOAT. No, let's not give him that. He is playing good. I liked him out of Oregon and Auburn and the other 17 years he played college football. Yeah. But I think he looks good. He's starting to kind of come into his own. I think this game is going to depend on if Justin Herbert actually gets to play. He's still questionable, and I haven't looked into what his game time decision is right now. I'm going to actually take the Chargers in this one and go 17-10 on the whim that I think Herbert's going to play. J.K. Dobbins, funny story, actually graduated with my sister from high school. Small little LaGrange, Texas. He was great there, and he's been great in Ohio State, and he was great when he can stay on the field. I think he has a bounce-back game this week. He started off the first 2 weeks really, really great, and then he's had a couple down weeks. I think he bounces back pretty good, and we get a nice 17-10 Charger win.
This one is tough because I think it all comes down to how healthy is Justin Herbert going to be. If he was even close to 100%, I'd easily pick the Chargers, I think. But this is going to be a defensive slugfest, man. Both these teams have really good defenses, and both their
Mm-hmm.
offenses have been underachieving. Or, well, I wouldn't say Denver's been underachieving. I think they've kind of been what people expected, but LA is definitely underachieved. They've had a bunch of turnstiles and injuries on the offensive line as well, which has not helped. I'm going to give the edge to Chargers, though. I just think overall they're a better team, and if Herbert is like 75% or something like that, I think they can win. I also think it helps that the running game has been a major surprise this season, especially J.K. Dobbins. I mean, this guy's just been ridiculous, ripping off big run after big run. Edwards is questionable, but if he can play, that's another option that they have there. I just think Bo Nix, I've seen some good things, but I've seen a lot of bad as well. I think he's been inconsistent, which is kind of what I expected from him because he's a very raw draft prospect. They need to get the running game going, though. Williams has begun the last 2 weeks, but overall in the season, he's averaging 3.6 yards per carry, and he's a really talented guy. So if he can have another good game, that would help him. But I'm going to pick the Chargers to win this one. I agree it's going to be a really defensive game.
Mm-hmm.
Give me the Chargers 17-13.
Okay. I like it. On to a division game that I'm sure you're pretty excited for. Let's go ahead and go with the Falcons versus Panthers. Let's start out with Noah. What you got?
See, this is a game I want to easily pick us, but then I remember last season we lost to the Panthers as well, and they're a division rival, so you always got to give them that respect.
Yeah.
That said, this Panthers team is coming off a blowout loss to the Bears, who, the Bears, I know they're 3-2, but let's be honest, like this is not an elite team by any means, and they got blown out the water. I think that Andy Dalton kind of surge they got in that first game is kind of, I don't think he was the reason they lost to the Bears. Their defense was horrible, but I mean, everyone knows Carolina's not good. That one game was an aberration, in my opinion. They're giving up 33 points per game, and they're only averaging around 16 on offense. Whereas with Atlanta, you're coming off their best game of the season by far offensively. The defense obviously wasn't good, but they're going to have a much better opportunity to succeed against a 1-4 Carolina team. They have the quarterback advantage. They have running back advantage, even though I do like Chuba Hubbard. I think Bijan and Algiers are a really solid one, too. I think we have the weapon advantage as well, offensive line, defensively as well. This is a game the Falcons should win, something like 31-17.
Okay.
But, I mean, again, division rivalry, who knows? But we don't have Desmond Ridder starting this game this year, man. Kirk Cousins is way better. We have an offense now, hopefully. So I'm going to go 31-17 Atlanta in this one.
I like it.
So you don't have to give yourself a blowout win. You can honor the division thing all you want. Captain Kirk's about to kill them. I'm going 35-17, and I'm not going to say much other than the only thing I've got really for the Panthers and any hope, not even hope. I got to give a shout out to Jonathan Brooks from Texas. He's supposed to maybe get a little playing time. I don't think he'll get any playing time this week, but he is also from right down the street from my little hometown out of Hallettsville, Texas. Was a great runner, so I'm excited to see him run in the NFL. But as far as this game goes, it's not going to be close. You could probably turn it off at halftime if you want to and go do something else, Noah. But I did 35-17. That's all. I have nothing else to say about that.
Well, I think we all agree with this game here. The Falcons are just gonna they're gonna dominate. I mean, Kirk Cousins is gonna have his way. I think Andy Dalton, though, Red Rifle, he'll have some good plays and he'll score some points. But I just feel like the Falcons at the end of the day are just going to be too much, and they have more on the line with trying to take the division. So I'm going to say Falcons 34, Panthers 24. All
right, so this goes to our next game, and I'll go ahead and lead it off as well as mention it. It's going to be the Lions versus the Cowboys. I'm excited and not excited for this game. As I mentioned earlier when David brought up his Saints, I can't pick against the Cowboys. It's just not in my nature. So I'm going to pick them to win, but it's a very, very hopeful. I'm going to take the Cowboys 31-28. I think Dak gets going a little bit better and finds CD because they just haven't been connecting this year. This is a little bit of a revenge game for Detroit. If y'all remember last year's Cowboys-Detroit matchup where we won the game on them not reporting their offensive lineman, which I'll, as a Cowboys fan, say yes, they did. We should have lost that game last year, and I'm hoping that they don't make up for it this year and just blow us out the water because they have a lot of talent and a lot of talent we're going to have to cover. I hope our offense gets going because our defense does not look very good. It's going to be a shootout. If we're in this game, it'll be a shootout. If not, it'll be over at halftime like the Saints game. So, yeah, I'm just hopeful. We'll end on that one. Noah, what do you think about this one?
Lions coming off a bye. The last game was against the Seahawks, where Jared Goff went 18 for 18, set an NFL record, which was crazy. They got Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery in the backfield, 2 studs. And then receiving wise, you got Amon-Ra, who's their number 1, but then Jameis Williams, who's actually their leading receiver this year, man. Over 20 yards per reception, 2 touchdowns as well. He's finally getting healthy. He's finally showing that, in my opinion, he's going to be a superstar in the league. On the other side, you have a Cowboys team that is coming off interesting game, to say the least. They got the win, but it was not pretty at all. The offense looked very inconsistent. Defense was better last week, but they've shown in the Saints game they can't have games where they get lit up. I don't think they'll get lit up in this game. I think it'll be a tight game and it is in Dallas. But the Lions, I've been really impressed with. Their only loss was to the Bucs, I believe, and the Bucs are a good team. Since then, they've rebounded really well, and their offense looked unstoppable against Seattle pretty much. So give me the Lions to win this game, 28-25.
I'm just glad you gave me a close call there. And real quick before you get going, David, I don't know if you mentioned, Jared Goff actually broke the NFL record with that 18 for 18 in a single game passing completion percentage. He passed up Drew Brees, who had a 96.7. Sorry for you, buddy. Go ahead and get into it.
It happens. Yeah, let's just be honest. The Lions are a better team all across the board. I feel like Goff is probably a better quarterback. I think they have a better run game, and I like their coaching as well. I feel like I'm going to agree with you, Tyler. I think the Cowboys are going to score 31 points, but I think the Lions are going to score 42 points to take the win here. I feel like they're going to go off. I do think it'd be a pretty good game for a while, but I feel like in the second half, the Lions are just going to take away with it or run away with it. So, yeah, I'll go Lions 42, Cowboys 31.
I'm a little bit torn here because those of you that don't know, Dan Campbell is an Aggie. He went and played for the A&M, then he actually played for the Cowboys as well. So, I like me some Dan Campbell. I was really hoping we'd get him as a coach. We didn't do that, though.
I like him a lot, too. He coached for the Saints for a little while. So
played for the Saints as well, didn't he? Yep. But last game of the night before we kind of wrap it up here, we got the Bengals getting 3.5 at the Giants. Now, this one on paper, you'd usually expect the Bengals to win, but they're 1-4, and the Giants, I know they're 2-3. They've had some close matchups, guys. I think they're actually, so far at least, they've been better than their record shows. Tyler, I'll start with you with this one. Obviously, this is a division rival here for you. What's your read on this game?
So I watched them play us a few weeks ago. That was the most boring game I've ever watched. The Giants' defense is real. They're good. Their offense, they can't. I don't know what's wrong. I mean, Daniel Jones is not a franchise quarterback, and they need to figure that out. The Bengals are going to blow them out. The Bengals' offense is, as it's playing now, tremendously better than the Cowboys, and their defense is probably better at the moment than ours too. And we beat them, 2015? So I'm going to go with the Giants keeping that 15, but I'm going to go with the Bengals putting up like 38. So I'm going to go 38-15 Bengals. I just don't think they can stop Jamar Chase and Burrow's arm, even with the great defense they have. And then we all could see they haven't scored over 21 but twice this year, and it's both their wins. And one of them was 21 points. The other 3 games, they just haven't been able to get it done, and I think they run into a little bit more of that in this game.
Absolutely. Joe Burrow's on fire, man. I know their record doesn't show it, but if their record was reversed, he would definitely be leading the MVP talks. I believe he's first in touchdowns, first in yards, first in passes over 40 yards. The guy's he's playing lights out and he's scoring, but their defense isn't doing enough to let his scoring take over. I do think it will in this game. I think they're going to light him up. I think the Giants are ass, and I don't think they're going to be enough to go. My prediction is actually pretty close to yours. I'm going to say 38 Bengals to 21 Giants.
Okay.
It's a must-win for the Bengals. If they lose this, their season is over, and this is a team that you got to win against. I do think the Giants' defense is good, but I think this could be one of those games where their offense just isn't really cutting it, and their defense kind of gets tired as the game goes along. Plus, Joe Burrow is amazing. Obviously, clear offensive advantage for the Bengals in that department. I just don't. The Giants don't have enough, in my opinion, to keep up with this Bengals team, and the Bengals are going to be desperate to get a win in this game, especially because they still have tough games. Like they play the Eagles, I think, in 2 weeks. They have a lot. They have a lot of really tough games, which is why they got to win this one. If they lose this one, I think their season is over. So expect Joe Burrow's statement game in this one. Give me around 400 yards and 4 pass touchdowns from Joe Burrow in this game. Give me the Bengals winning 35-16.
I like it.
But that is our last prediction of the night, and that actually wraps up our 8th and final segment of the night. So, guys, before we do wrap it up real quick here, is there any kind of closing words you want to say before we get off for tonight?
Yeah, real quick, I do want to touch on that the Thursday night game did kick off, and the infamous Geno Smith just threw an interception to start it. So that's all I've got to say. But I had fun, guys. This is great. I'm looking forward to doing this every week with y'all, every Thursday at this time. It'll be great. And this time, I promise, guys, I won't pull my computer off next time.
Absolutely, I really enjoyed it as well. I think we meshed very well together. We'll figure out these topics and get the times down a little bit, but it went overall very good, and I enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to more shows ahead.
Yeah, man, I think for first show this was really good. Actually went really smoothly. Obviously some difficulties here and there, but compared to some of my past first shows, man, it's probably the best one I've had yet for sure. And there was a lot really good comments tonight, a lot of interaction, which is great as well. And yeah, we're going to be back next Thursday, everybody. But until then, from myself, Noah Dog Deibler, the Dunfinator, David Dunfey, and Tyler Rowe, this has been the first episode of SportLife Uncensored on the Sports Box Network. We'll see you next time.
See y'all next time, guys.
Thank you for watching this episode of Sweet Tea on the Sports Box. Please remember to follow us on all of our social media outlets. On Facebook at SportsBox Show, Twitter at SportsBox Show, Instagram at The SportsBox Show. Find us on YouTube and join Outside the Box, our Facebook sports discussion group. The Sports Box is brought to you by our sponsor, Showcase Sports in Hamilton. Showcase Sports for the elite athlete. And also our friends over at CrowdPlay. Download the free CrowdPlay app today and use promo code THEBOX at sign up for 10 free points. Thank you for joining us.